But I think that's part of the remarkableness of how Yahweh develops for the Hebrews is, if you want to take it from cultural evolution, Yahweh, they're moving from a very unconscious polytheism
Right.
in the Middle Eastern world into for them, a more ethical monotheism. But it's sung in. That's why I like the Klingon. It's sung in story and song. It's still male, but it's sung in story and song, which is contrary to the traditional male thing. So there's a certain evolutionary aspect to this Yahweh. Um, and Jung, like you were saying, maybe misses a little bit of that picture because he's only looking at a psychological perspective. But I would think somewhere somebody we're dialoguing with him, they bring that in to his consciousness of the historical development of Yahweh. So,
right. Well, Jung's saying that this is a depth psychology examination of the Judeo-Christian myth, right?
Yeah.
And it's clear we aren't in Kansas anymore. Okay, clearly in Kansas, he would have been ripped apart. He would have been drawn and quartered. And 500 years ago in Europe, anybody sitting at this table would have been right along with him, talking about this stuff. Right? Anyway, we're talking about the three aspects of the God image as it developed in human psychological evolution, right? So the Old Testament version of that is Yahweh, and he is both kind and wrathful. Job challenges Yahweh with Yahweh. Okay, Job is asking Yahweh to be his counsel against Yahweh's other side. And so the point is that Yahweh isn't a duality. Yahweh is an antinomy, meaning he has both sides within himself, right? So in that sense, Yahweh's...
what's the difference between duality and antinomy?
Well, duality means there's two separate things, but antinomy is talking about two things within the same thing. Okay, it's like the right hand of God and the left hand of God. And, the right hand of God's going to give out all the goodies, but the left hand of God is going to beat the crap out of you. If you don't do it the right way, God is going to beat the crap out of you.
But if you do it the right way, you get the goodies.
Right.
Which is a dangerous way to live.
That's a dangerous way to live. But
I thought of antinomy as more of a dynamic, whereas the other is just sort of a...
That's well said.
Right, so the problem was that the New Testament then brings along the Christ image and makes Christ the God of love. Okay, and so it's one-sided. And so it's Yahweh tamed in the lap of the Virgin, one-sided goodness. Okay, the problem is we're not all good all the time, right? As Mary Oliver says, you don't have to be good. So Jung comes along and he says, let's take the God image as experienced psychologically by modern men and women. And he defines God in this way. To this day, God is the name by which I designate all things which cross my willful path, violently and recklessly, all things which upset my subjective views, plans, and intentions, and change the course of my life for better or for worse. Okay, so everything's cool as long as everything's going along cool, but either something great happens or something terrible happens, and either way, that's God. Right, that's the way I understand this statement. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis.
No. Don't worry about right or wrong. It's not about wrong. So.
And so, keeping in mind now his statement, I grieve for you, brother, who is about to read this work. How very much I would have preferred to remain a child in the Father's protection and shun the problem of the opposites. Okay, so that's right. And so the issue is that Christianity wants to put everything on one side, and from very early, like age 6 or something, he was having dreams that weren't going along with those nice, sweet, everything's great ideas of Christianity, including having this vision of God dropping a turd on the Cathedral of Basel. You know, at age 11, he had that dream, and so he's saying, you know, what's that? You know, what does that mean? Please, Yahweh, tell me what that means. It's a fair enough question. And going back to, huh?
I'd say it was edible.
And going back to like when he was 6 years old, he had the dream of going down in this like tomb and finding this tree that was like 15 feet high, and it was the one-eyed monster, it turns out, and he hears his mother's voice saying, "That is the man-eater." So he has a few questions about all this goodness, right? So what he says is that psyche's nature can only be described in paradoxes. Everything is an opposite. And if you land in the world of opposites, how do you deal with that? So he put it off as long as he possibly could. He didn't write this book for 40 years. And he knew the controversy that it would engender. And he said, it's like being a dog attracted to a kick. he
To show me you love me.
Show me. He knew he was going to be in trouble when he wrote this book, but in the end he had to do it. So the big thing is that Job had displayed, according to Jung now, Job had displayed a consciousness that was superior to Yahweh's. Okay. And so the answer was that God had to become man. Okay, now this goes back to Edinger's thought that, you know, God fell out of heaven in 1500. Nobody noticed it until the 19th century, but in the 19th century, folks started to feel a little bit sad. And by the 20th century, we were having world wars. And so everybody lost God. And to me, the thing that Jung means to me is that he proves God to me. Okay, he doesn't prove any religion. I don't think any faith is perfectly correct, any of them, but they all point in the same direction. And like Jung, I have no need to believe I know. And if you know, then you're okay, right?
You're on the path anyway.
You're on the path, yeah. But, in terms of your physical life, when you're dead, you don't know you're dead. It's only difficult for your family.
How do you this?
It's only difficult for your family, right? But when you're stupid, it works the same way.
Stupid and dead, always equated.
Right. So in the physical world, when we're dead, yes, we are dead. Okay, just like the T-bone that we buy at the grocery store.
Unconscious. Yes.
We are unconscious. There is no consciousness left. But we can leave our spirit behind, and there are many people. I mean, there's no question that Jesus Christ left his spirit behind, and same with the Buddha, the same with Mohammed, the same with Alexander Solzhenitsyn and Beethoven and lots of other people, and each one of us. Okay, we leave it behind in our children or our grandchildren. And so our spirit does live, and it does reincarnate. Okay, in a sense, I'm a spiritual reincarnation of my. Well, let's see. I'm the polar opposite of my maternal grandfather, and I'm the redemption of my paternal grandfather. Huh? At least I get
Too much to bear.
too much. Okay, so there's the problem of the opposites in the Christian God image, because Christianity just wants to say that everything that's on the dark side is evil, and they want to write it out of the equation. The trouble is that it doesn't really work.